three constructions that have to do with perpendicular lines. So we're going to do three different constructions having to do with perpendicular segments. So first off, let's remember or make sure that we know what we mean by perpendicular. Anybody remember what we said perpendicular meant? It has to do with an angle. Go ahead. You're thinking of the other word we used which was bisector, and we'll get to that. I think you're thinking of that one. Perpendicular just means a 90-degree angle. So we're drawing segments that make 90-degree angles. We're constructing segments that make 90-degree angles with each other. And when we talked about reflections, when we were doing transformations, we said that the mirror line was the perpendicular bisector of the segment between the points that we've reflected. So we will talk about a bisector today. Bisector just means cut in half. And I'll say, instead of bisector, I'll just say bisect. Bisect just means cut in half. So for one of our constructions, we're going to construct a 90-degree angle that cuts our segment in half. So that's really our two vocabulary words. We'll use perpendicular a lot, and for one of our constructions, we're going to talk about bisect. So let's look at our constructions. The first one is construct a perpendicular bisector. So we have a segment here. Here's my segment. And we want to construct a perpendicular bisector. We're going to have two steps here. The first step is and I'm saying this in shorthand here, when we use our compass it'll make more sense. We're going to open more than halfway. And two, we're going to draw an arc from either end. So, I'm going to grab my compass. There's my compass. I'm going to set my compass on one end of the segment. So I put the point of the compass right here on the end of the segment, and I'm going to open my compass more than halfway across the segment. So it has to be open more than halfway. And now I'm going to draw an arc. It goes from above the segment to below the segment. And now I take the point and I move it to the other side of the segment. I don't change how far open my compass is, and I draw another arc. So I set my compass on one end. I drew an arc from that side with the compass open more than halfway. I moved the compass without moving how far open it was, and drew an arc from the other end. Now I'm going to set my compass aside, and this next part you would do with the edge of your protractor with a straight edge. I'm going to connect where these arcs cross. I'm just going to draw it with my straight line tool, but you would do it with a straight edge, the edge of your protractor or a ruler. So there's my perpendicular bisector, if I measured this angle, I would see that this is 90 degrees and that these segments are the same length. From here to here is the same as from here to here. And the way we mark 90 degrees is with this little corner. That means 90 degrees. So that's my perpendicular bisector. We open the compass more than halfway and we draw an arc from either end. And then we connect those arcs. So let's look at that one more time. Here's my segment to start. I'm going to my steps, open more than halfway, and draw arc from either end. So grab my compass, set it on the end of my segment, make sure it's open more than halfway, draw an arc from this end, make sure it goes above and below, move my compass around, put the arc or put the point on the other end of the segment, draw an arc from that end, move the compass out of the way with your straight edge, connect where the arcs cross. And there's my perpendicular bisector. Questions on that construction? This one is going to be the key to the rest of our constructions today. So we'll have to do this one over and over. So this open more than halfway and draw an arc from either end, that's going to be our important construction for today. Because all of the other ones will end up doing this. All right, let's look at the next one. We want a perpendicular segment through a point. So for this one, we have this segment here. Move that down. And we have this point up here that's not on the segment. And we want our perpendicular segment to go through this point. We're going to call this construction our smiley face. So our first step is to draw a smiley face. So we grab our compass, set it on the point here, and make sure that our compass is open so it'll go across the segment. So I have to be open far enough to go across the segment. And then I'm going to draw my smiley face. So there's my smiley face. What's that? So now what I'm going to do, I've drawn my smiley face. Now I'm going to open up more than halfway across this segment that I make where the smiley face crosses my original segment. Now I'm going to open more than halfway. And make an arc from either end. So I'm going to grab my compass again, set it on this segment that I made with my smiley face, and I'll do this in green. Make sure my compass is open more than halfway across that, halfway across this segment between the two sides of the smiley face. Draw an arc from this end. Don't change how far open my compass is. Go to the other end. Draw the arc from that end. Now with my straight edge, I'm going to connect where the arcs cross each other. And there's my perpendicular segment through this point.
So if you just go straight down.
What's that?
So you just go straight down to that point?
So yeah, it should, your two arcs, where the two arcs cross, should connect right up to that point. And that's why we make the smiley face, to make sure that this point is right in the middle of this new segment. Make sure that that's perfectly in the middle there, so that we can do the open more than halfway and then make an arc. So if we have a point that's not on the line, we have to do we'll call this our smiley face construction. Do the smiley face, and then we do the open more than halfway and arc from either end. So let's take a look at that one again. Here's our segment, and I want to show you a little trick here. Here's our point this time. So our steps, we're going to do our smiley face. So grab my compass, set the tip on the point here. Make sure my compass goes through the segment here, and draw my smiley face. Now what happens if I had this? What if my segment were too short and it didn't connect with the side of the smiley face? What could I do? Anybody have an idea? I'm just going to take my straight edge, put it on my segment, and extend it. So make sure that I'm using my straight edge. I extend that segment so it crosses the smiley face. I can always extend my segments. I don't have to keep it just exactly the same length as I give it. So you just put your straight edge on there and extend that segment. So I did my smiley face. Now I'm going to open more than half. And arc from either end. So grab my compass again. I'll make it red this time. Set it on where the smiley face crosses. Make sure it's open more than halfway. Make my arc from this end. Move the compass over to the other side of the smiley face. Don't change how far open it is. Make the arc there. Move the compass. With my straight edge, I'm going to connect the arcs, and it should go right through my point. And that's 90 degrees, and it goes right through the points I was interested in. So this is our smiley face construction. Sometimes, depending on your compass, it might be like a little off, but it should be pretty close. If it goes way over here, then you've definitely done something wrong. But if it just goes kind of right beside it, it probably has to do with the compass maybe moving a little bit as you go. Yeah, press. On the test, it'll just say construct a perpendicular segment through the point, and it'll have a drawing like this, and it'll just say construct a perpendicular segment through that point. That's all it'll ask you to do. Okay. So for now, we're just going to we want to know what a perpendicular segment is, and we want to know how to make one. And we'll talk about why these constructions work, why they make sure that we have a 90-degree angle, why they make sure that we have a bisector, when we get a little further with what we're doing in geometry. So for now, we'll just take my word for it. But when we get a little further, when we talk about proving things, we'll talk about why these constructions work. All right, our last construction for today is a perpendicular segment through a point on the line. So here is my segment, or my line, I guess. And we're going to have this line, and we have this point. And I want to make a perpendicular segment to this line that goes through this point. I want to make sure it goes through that point. We're going to call this construction our bow tie construction. So for our bow tie construction, we grab our compass, I'm going to set it on the point. It doesn't matter how far I open it up, a little further makes it a little easier. And I'm going to make a little arc here. And I'm going to turn this around so you can see this. And I was open 97 degrees. So I don't want to change how far open my compass is. I'm going to go back to 97 degrees. What you guys can do is just pick your compass up and not move it. It's a little harder for this one. And now I'm going to make that same arc on this side of the line. So the compass stays open the same amount from here to here and from here to here. And I just make a little mark on either side. This is my bow tie. This is my bow tie around that point. Now that I'm done with my bow tie, now I open my compass more than halfway and make an arc from either end. So we're back to my first one. So grab the compass, set it on this segment made by the bow tie. I'll change the color here. Open it more than halfway. Make an arc from this side. Keep the compass open the same amount. Make an arc there from the other side of the bow tie. With a straight edge, connect those arcs, and it should go right through your point. And we've made a 90-degree angle. So this one is our bow tie construction. When we have a point on the line, we do our bow tie construction. And notice each one depends on this first one that we did, where we open more than halfway and we do an arc from either end. Questions on that one? Okay, let's look at that one more time, and then we're done. So here's my segment. Here's my point. I'm going to grab my compass. I'm going to make my bow tie. I'm open 120 degrees, so I'm going to move around here. Set my point back on there, and I'm going to make sure I'm open 120 degrees. What you guys would do is just pick your compass up and not change how far open it was. Uh-oh, my bow tie doesn't go through my segment. What do I do? Extend it. Perfect. So I'm just going to use my straight edge, extend this out, and now I open more than halfway and make a segment from either end. So go to my compass, go to the edge of my bow tie, I'm going to change my color, make sure I'm open more than halfway, make an arc there, move it to the other side of the bow tie, make an arc there, and connect those with my straight edge. And there's my 90-degree angle. So those are our three constructions. Perpendicular bisector, perpendicular through a point not on the line, and through a perpendicular through a point on the line. So those are the three constructions you'll need to know how to do for the homework and for our test on Friday. Any questions?